Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele and I will be your nerd today and any other day that you watch one of my silly little shows. Alright everybody, so before I forget, because I always forget it, I always ends up getting it in the wrong order and whatnot, I want to make sure that I go ahead and congratulate the August comment raffle winner before I forget and then I'm having to splice it in or add it at the end or, oh god, I forgot about the thing. So even before we get into the Week in Bryan, I want to congratulate Calamari6213, who actually commented on my little mini episode, hey, Bryan is sick so he can't do an episode this week video. So when I put all of the names and comments into the Randominator, it isn't it doesn't discriminate based off of what the episode is, and so it was kind of cool that it popped up something from that little episode tracker or that little sick episode. So Calamari6213, congratulations. When this goes out, when this episode goes live, I will comment on your comment and let you know that you need to send me your shipping address so I can send you your comment raffle prize. Yay! So, folks, this is why you comment on the things, because you want to win free stuff, and also why you should always like and subscribe and make sure that you send you share the channel out to others so they may like and subscribe, even if it's just so they can pop in, watch a few minutes of a video, and say hey, hi, thanks for the Week in Bryan, and get entered into the comment raffle, because you get a chance at free stuff. Sometimes unique things, sometimes things from my sponsors, sometimes it's literally random stuff that comes out of the studio. But I want to let y'all know that will continue so long as people keep subscribing and commenting, and honestly, if the channel continues to grow, it gives me an opportunity also to reach out to more sponsors and get more free stuff to put into the comment raffle, so forth and so on. You know how it goes. All right, now that we've given Calamari our congratulations, let's go ahead and get into the Week in Bryan. Let's gaming. Gaming. I had an awesome game of Conquest this last weekend. I fought against my buddies Nords, who have always been a problem for me in the past. And I ended up squeaking out a win. It was another really close game, similar to the last one that I talked about on the channel. My opponent and I kind of randomly decided to withhold how many victory points we've earned over the course of the game, and so it was kind of a surprise unveiling at the end, because it was a really, really close game. When it came down to, at the end of turn 10, it was a 10-turn game. At the end of turn 10, he had one, a couple of wounds on him, giant, at the Ice Yatnar, and I had a damaged command stand left from my Magma Forged, and that's it. We had just beat the tar out of each other. I won't lie, dice had a little bit to do with it. When his dice went cold, it was at the perfect opportunities for mine to get hot, and that's exactly what happened. Not to mention, I won 8 out of 10 initiative rolls for that game, and especially when you've got, not to pat myself on the back, but when you've got two players who understand kind of the push and pull of unit-based tactics, it sets up turns like 4 through 6, like the mid turns are very important, because at that point you've probably set up a couple of 1-2 punches. You've set up if I go before his guys, I'm going to be able to finish them off before they can finish me off. Or in the case of fighting against the Nords, their extremely annoying regeneration factor on a few of their models. It's if you can manage to break them before they go, they don't regenerate. and that's massive. So there was a lot of swinging moments that I won the initiative. I got that I got to apply my first card in the stack, and it kind of set the stage. But it was a really good game. It was a fun game. I still think Regeneration is too good. I know I won, and I don't want to be a sore winner, but I think the fact that Regeneration can bring back stands that have been destroyed in a regiment is dumb. I think healing stands up to full, I think, makes sense, but returning entire full stands to the regiment, I think, is silly. But that being said, it was a great game. It was a fun game, and a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon. I got to play some playtest stuff. We'll talk a little more about playtest stuff in the work section of the Week in Bryan, because that's really the only game that I got to play, besides a little bit of video games, was Conquest. It's not to say that there were any other games that took precedent because of Conquest or anything, but between the playtest games and the Conquest afternoon, I didn't have a whole lot of time to get in extra games. So yeah, so that was gaming. Personal life. Connor, by the time this airs, by the time this goes out on the tubes, my son will have his braces. It's a thing. I know it's a milestone for a lot of people. Have your first real surgical moment. And so he's. I know orthodontics isn't surgery, but his actually part of it is. But it's a thing. I had braces for a couple years in my life. He's gonna have braces for a couple years in his life. It's just another benchmark that reminds me how grown up he's getting. He can drive a car now. But still going to the gym 3 times a week. Things are feeling good, doing good. I still haven't really broken the plateau on the weight loss, but I feel really good. I feel less sore and achy. I'm starting to see some gains in places where I'd like them to be. Not quite as many losses in places that I wouldn't, but at the end of the day, I'm 47 years old. I'm not trying to impress everybody around me. I'm just trying to feel good and be healthy and be able to exist on this mud ball a little longer in order to make cool games and be a great dad and husband. But yeah, so personal things are all right. Nothing else. Well, I mean, I guess there was one hiccup. I had to take half a day of work off yesterday on my 8th anniversary. Yeah, Natalie and I celebrated our 8th year of marriage yesterday. I guess it'll be 2 days ago by the time this goes live, but regardless. And one of our presents that we ended up getting for our anniversary was I had to go to Best Buy to replace Natalie's Microsoft Surface because domino effect, stair-step things, a thing that she uses for her art, died, and when she went to go fix it, the drivers and things are no longer functioning, and there's no update to get to them. And then so we went in with the goal of just getting a new tool, and the new tool requires a new cradle, and the new cradle has to be attached to the keyboard, and the keyboard has to fit to the new. It was extremely frustrating, and I do hate that aspect of technology. But it's all taken care of, and water under the bridge, debt in the account, red in the ledger. But it's handled. She can go back to making cool art, and in fact, she's actually doing a little bit of work for me. She's helping me out with something that my project. Well, you know what? I'll talk about it in a little bit. We'll get to that in a sec. So gaming, personal, painting. So I have been painting like a madman. I got a couple of things that are curing right now, so I don't want to go and bring them over. I painted my hold rye and my tempered steel shaper for my Dwagum for Conquest. And then, because of how well he did in his game against the 100 Kingdoms, I painted my Fire Drake. So he's cool, he's big, he's bad, he's a monster, and my Fire Drake has magnetized driver. So I had to build up a little bit on here to hide the magnets. Normally he sits in the chair, but I had to do that because this model. Okay. Why do we paint these toys if we don't play with them? So the Fire Drake, like all of the Dwagum big monsters, have a generic version of how they can be. Just put them on the board and they do some stuff. And then there's also a character rider version. And so I've magnetized mine to be able to do both. When I eventually get my stone forged, I just can't swing the money for it right now. I know that they're available, and I really want to get one because it's a great model, both in physicality and in the game. It sucks that I can't get him, but I really just I don't have the extra scratch this month to pick him up. Boo 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 boo. I also want some magma forged, but that's a different story altogether. But those models, I magnetize my character writer, so that way I get to paint the cool character model that they sell to be that writer. But it also means that I don't have, I hate to say it, I don't have to buy 2 of the giant kit in order to field the versions that I want, especially because it is nigh impossible to field 2 of this. To field 2 Fire Drakes would require multiple character purposes, and it's a lot of points, and it also seems a little, chintzy, especially when you're a gamer on a budget. I would rather get at least one of everything before I start doubling things up. So I've magnetized him, and I'm currently painting the sorcerer that goes on this guy, but he's magnetized and he fits and everything's wonderful. I'll show him to you when he is done. But all of that aside, I have been doing a lot of painting when it comes to that. I also painted another one of my D&D party members from Natalie's game, from the Land of Monsters game, which we actually get to play next week. The Sea Elf Warlock, or Sea Elf Sorcerer or Sorceress, Aaliyah, played by our friend Jackie. This is her first D&D character ever, and she's doing a great job, and she's really kind of getting into the game. I've talked about her and how well she's kind of gelling with things, but I chose her as the next paint job of our party to get painted. So I did that. She looks fun. She's a blue sea elf, and she's very cool. Which leaves actually only the Loxodon Barbarian that my friend Bill plays in our group. So when I get the opportunity, probably after the next session, I will get his model primed and get some paint on him too. And we'll have a fully painted party. Maybe I'll take a cool picture of the fully painted party and I'll show you. Yeah, so that's really all the painting. Yeah, so I think that's all the hobbying. On to work as I take a drink. All right. So let's start. Shadowrun. Starting to put words down on the page for the new stuff. Getting some stuff done for the Augment zine, which we announced. It's going to be a Shadowrun in character kind of zine style release. It's got a lot of really cool, some very cool concepts in it. to kind of for immersion in the game universe. I'm very excited to see how that shapes up. Not only for paycheck purposes, just because I think it's going to be a really cool thing to put together. Also knowing some of the people that are writing and adding to it, apart from outside like fan submissions, just some of the other authors that are chiming in with their Shadowrun voice. I'm excited. I'm very, very excited to see how that comes out. Speaking of Shadowrun, I don't know if it is public or not, so I won't get into the specifics, but I did officially sign up to do something very, very cool for Shadowrun here in just a couple of weeks. Hopefully more on that in the future. I can't, like I said, I don't want to divulge too much in case people want to use it as a surprise. But yeah, so there's that. Playtesting and development continues for Xeogenesis. I'm still getting a hang of the core rules themselves and the first two factions before I start really delving into the rest of things and start really crunching into the development process. But I give that game about an hour a day, and sometimes a little more. But I don't, until we start getting into the actual designing of extra stuff and new units and stuff. There's God, this is gonna sound, people are gonna be like, oh, Bryan, that's silly. I don't want to charge my employer extra hours just because. I would rather make sure that the time that I'm working on this is condensed and it's actually making forward progress on the game. So until we start moving into the next part of the process, things are still going to be a little light. It's a lot of just making sure that that me and the testers have the rules, that we understand how the rules are going to function and how they should function, and maybe make a few notes about some things that maybe need to be or should be tweaked or massaged a little bit. But the game's got really, really good bones. It's got a really, really good core set of elements, and I look forward to doing more and expanding upon them in the future. Bringing us to Warzone. So I mentioned the playtests. So I got to playtest a couple of cool units. I am all but confident that one is exactly where it needs to be. I was worried that I didn't get the numbers quite right, that it was going to be too good for what it I had made it too cool because I really wanted it to be an awesome figure. But I seeing it on the table now a couple of times, I am confident that when we send it off to the outside playtesters, it shouldn't require too much tweaking. Also, when it comes talking about the Warzone Eternal Collective, models for the Kickstarter backing are still coming into Alex. He gets shipments constantly. I received a couple of cool shipments. I don't know if I showed, I know I showed this on socials, but I don't know if I showed it here. This is the Tournament Organizer 2024-2025 Warzone Eternal Season Patch that I'm going to be adding to every tournament kit. So the tournament kit itself is written. All of the documentation has been sent up to Heroic Signatures for them to make sure that they are, as the license holder, that they are okay with how things are put together, how things are worded, make sure that they are all right with us creating this, creating it further than it already is. The award certificates, I mentioned my my lovely wife had done some graphic art for us. She's the one that actually designed the files for the award certificates that are going to be in the tournament kit. And the Luna City credit coins / objective markers are apparently on a container ship from China to here as we speak. So if all goes well, I know that I say that a lot, but in this industry, a lot can happen. As long as everything goes as planned, the chances I have a feeling I'm probably going to be able to start doing pre-orders slash kind of getting the order roster for the tournament kit probably as early as October. Like maybe if all goes well, knock knock knock, October 1st. Is my goal, is to basically be able to throw out a call to the Warzone Eternal community, put up a post into the Kickstarter, and start getting these sent out to people, because it'll let them plan and get ready to host the first tournaments when the minis start getting shipped out. Again, Warzone is so close to my heart and is such a wonderful part of everything that my career as a gamer slash creator has come kind of come around in circles sometimes, and Warzone has been a part of that for a lot of those years, and recently it's been really an absolute labor of love. I am super fortunate to be able to be this close to this final product and be able to do as much work with it as I am, and designing the tournament kit. I've had some playtesters specifically look through it, make sure that it looks like it's supposed to, that it reads like it's supposed to. I have been told it is a little verbose, but I wanted to do that on purpose, because the people who already know how to run tournaments are probably not going to need too much hand-holding in how the tournament is set up. I want them to have the documentation and everything there, but the collective, most people, if they're feeling confident enough to run a tournament, they probably already know how. But I did want to make sure that for all the new people out there, they're like, we're just getting started. This is one of our first games. I want to be able to run a tournament in my store, or maybe a store that, like a retail backer that is carrying it for the first time, and they've got a store guy that's like, I've never run a tournament, but I can give it a try. I wanted to make sure that the language in the tournament kit was very, not plain. That's not the right word. That it explained things elaborately enough, and detailed enough that there should be very, very few questions. Obviously, if you get these tournament kits and you do have questions, you know how to reach me. But if all goes well and Heroic likes it, and we get into the layout guy so they can take a look at it, and get it into the right format for how we want to present things, if I should hopefully be able to start taking pre-orders on the tournament kits as early as October. So, yay! Which brings me to Evil Genius. Speaking of playtests and things, playtesting for Intergalactic Heroes is in full swing. In fact, later today, at the time of this recording, I will have a playtest session set up with a bunch of my... one of the fellow designers at Evil Genius is going to be running a bunch of the members of the staff through character creation. I'm probably going to be more or less a fly on the wall in that group meeting, because I don't want to influence anybody's decisions or reactions, or opinions. But I also want to kind of see how things come together, and I want to also be there to answer questions if something comes up. Because again, while this is still based on very heavily on everyday heroes, there's a lot of little things that we added, and that I added specifically when we moved from the original Rebel Moon kind of core ideas to Intergalactic Heroes. So yeah, just very excited to see all that come together. And then next week, I have the first two where I am running Intergalactic Heroes for the outside playtesters. And it's not much. It's a couple of hours. It's a little bit of a test to see how things and how people handle things. It will not be. It's not like running a real game, because playtesting is more about the numbers and more about the feel, than it is about telling the story like it would be in a regular game. But you know me, I'm not going to be able to do a playtest session and not have at least a little bit of story. So, because I'm a ham, and that's how it's going to work. So yeah, very excited on all that coming together. The Evil Genius Patreon is in full swing, and we just recently announced what the next couple of months are going to entail, including a couple of adventures that I am writing for the Patreon specifically. So if you haven't joined up, if you want to get some cool Everyday Heroes, Intergalactic Heroes, and eventually Everyday Arcana information, plus just some cool maps and tokens and things that are available, follow the link in the description, go to the Patreon, and sign up. It's cheap. It's like, I think the highest tier is like $5 a month. And you get a bunch of free stuff. So you should totally, I mean, I guess it's not free if you pay, but you know what I meant. Yeah. So I think that's about it when it comes to the week in Bryan. It's been a good week, a solid week. The event. Oh, speaking of work, the events at Gamehole Con went live for everybody to start badging up, and I am happy to say that several of my events sold out already, including, speaking of Intergalactic Heroes, my Heck Divers 2 drop core assignment, effectively a kind of a Helldivers / Starship Troopers ripoff, which I guess maybe could be a homage, if you will, where a team of drop commandos get thrown into a nasty planet run that is being overtaken by the Arthro menace, and you got to survive to reach evac. So that one's already sold out. I will be running it a couple of times at GaryCon next spring. But that's quite a ways off, and I don't want to start trying to get people planning for that. But I do believe my more traditional Intergalactic Heroes session, the one that's actually set in the Throne World saga, with this ring IV dead, I believe still has a couple of seats available, at least the last time I looked. It might be sold out by now. I don't know. I forgot to look before I started recording, and I'm not going to do that now because that's rude. Yeah, my Strange Hollow event at Gamehole has a couple of seats left, and then I'm running a handful of the D&D 50th anniversary sessions, and I believe one of them is sold out. The other one is not. But either way, Gamehole is going to be great. If you even remotely can be in the Madison, Wisconsin area in October for Gamehole, you should totally come out, and I would love to play some games with you. Speaking of D&D 50th anniversary, let's move into today's topic after I take a sip. So, there's been a lot of chit-chat and a lot of talk about 1D&D, the new 5.5, not quite 6th edition, all the various terminology, and I think the one that WotC has landed on is the 2024 Player's Handbook Edition. There's been a lot of talk about it. I have had a chance to look through it, and I'm not going to get into the specifics. Today is not a review on that book. I will do a review on that book later on when I have a physical copy to be able to show you guys. But I do want to talk about the edition wars that have come up. Yes, this is not technically a new edition by the letter of the law, but we all know that it's it's enough of an update, it's enough of an overhaul that the 2024 versus the 2014 versions of D&D 5e, people are going to call this 5.5 pretty much universally. I suspect that's going to become its nickname, if it already hasn't. And there are a lot of changes, a lot of things that I think there's a lot of stuff that I think is just fine. 5e is a really malleable system, and a lot of the stuff that they've added in is stuff that Baldur's Gate 3 was already doing on the computer. That a lot of games at home were already doing as home rules. So they've the 2024 edition does bring a lot of that to the page, and kind of says it in an official format. If you're going to use these rules updates, go ahead and do this stuff, because the part that's not written here, the stuff between the lines, says because a lot of you have been doing it already and it's worked out just fine. And there's a lot of people that have come to D&D 5e because of Baldur's Gate. I won't lie. In the same way that a lot of people came to D&D earlier on because of like Critical Role and Dimension 20, Baldur's Gate 3 really opened up a massive audience. It brought a lot of people into the concept of the character sheet, the concept of feats, the concept of action economies. Things that people have done in video games before, but this was so directly close to how 5e already worked. It's not that far of a transition. Now, it's got its own complications, and I may do an entire episode on that someday. But it does a good job of kind of breaking through that very first wall of getting someone to understand how the rules can translate to a tabletop. And the 2024 edition does show a lot of that. Change is hard. Change is hard for everybody. I don't know any. That's not true. I do know one person who seems to anytime there's a new edition of something, it's always immediately the coolest edition of all time. I love the guy to death, but he is an absolute just. It is. If the company says this is the way to play, then that's the best thing that's ever happened. He did it with 3. He did it with 3.5. He did it with 4th. He did it with Saga Edition Star Wars. He did it's whatever the company is saying. This is the way to play. This friend of mine will absolutely find a way to make it the best thing that's ever happened to that game. I love him, but that's definitely something that's happening, and that's going to happen with the 2024 edition as well. But there are also people that will always be very skeptical of any kind of change, any kind of, why would they do that? It worked fine just before. And a lot of people will answer that with, well, then just play the way you want to play. The rule 0. No one's taking your books away. Here's all these gamer cliches that come out when it comes to edition wars. And I'm letting you know that it's, how do I put this? Do what you want at your table. Unless you're streaming it live, or it's a charity game where people are going to be watching, or it's at an event, or you're running for strangers at the store, no one cares how you play. They really don't. And if they do, maybe they should be worrying a little bit more about what's happening at their own tables and behind their own doors. And I include that I say that to even include some of the problematic things. Please don't cancel me. I have been in games that are extremely, the characters are extremely bigoted. That the characters are, the setting is a historical setting set in a place where people are mistreated for who they are. Some very kind of dangerous topics that today's generation of gamers, the ones that are coming up right now, they see that, they hear that, and go, as a player, you should never do that. And I'll say it out loud. I'll say the quiet part out loud. No one can tell you how to play. Unless you're doing it for an audience, because then you are inviting people into your world. Unless the people at your table are uncomfortable or having a problem with it, or the audience that you're playing for has a problem with it, or you're telling people about your game, making them an audience, kind of after the fact, but making them an audience after the fact, and they are uncomfortable. As long as you're not infringing on someone else's, comfort and rights to be, no one can tell you how to have fun. And that includes things like different editions of the game. I know people that still play AD&D 2nd Edition. I barely remember. I've dug up a few of my old character sheets. I found them in a box, and I looked at them, and there are rules and stats on those character sheets that my 47-year-old brain don't remember. I can't remember what some of these notes are, like some of these terminologies. I'm like, what did I use that for? Yes, I remember what THAC0 is, but it's not... when I look at, there's like a series of percentages after my arrow of slaying, and I'm like, okay, what is, I don't remember what that is. Is that the percentage that it fails? Is that the percentage that it hits? What did I do? There are things, I don't think I could run anyone through an AD&D 2nd Edition. I used to DM that on the school bus for a couple of my friends every day. And I don't think I could run a game. It's been that long. And I've been through so many other editions and so many rules and house rules and things I've designed. And, it would be mind-boggling for me to try and wrap my brain around that again. But that doesn't change the fact that there are some people that really, that is still their bread and butter. I know people that still play 3rd edition. There are people out there that still play 4th edition. Which, by the way, 4th edition, I may do a controversial episode at some point that tells people that 4th edition was not bad. Maybe a follow up to the edition wars. But I digress. That's not going to be today. What I'm trying to say is that there are always reasons to have new editions. The primary reason is obviously to fix errors, to seal up loopholes, to figure out, oh, hey, this was a bad take on the meta, or whatever the case may be, making adjustments. But one of the other things, and let me take off my Bryan hat and put on my corporate hat. Part of it is also so these companies can maintain and continue to make games. There is a reason why a game that has only been through a few editions probably has a bazillion source books, because they got to keep that revenue flowing in order to continue producing the product. But games like D&D, where, there's a handful of books that WotC specifically puts out. 5th edition has been more than many others as of late, because of allowing so many other people to use the rule set to build from. But WotC's not making any money off of that. So if they want D&D to continue to be a powerhouse engine and continue to fuel the industry, because it does, no matter what people say, it does, they do need to update things, and they do need to put out new products that will keep people excited, because people like me who make these videos, every actual play out there right now is making, or podcasts or whatever, they're making the decision currently, like as we speak, as you're watching this video, unless you're watching this really, really late video on demand, they are figuring out what to do with their games. Do we update to 2024? Do we ignore it? Is that making a political statement? Is that political by game or political? Is that making a statement of, because we're going to continue to use 2014 rules, is that going to be an issue? Are people going to think that I'm making a statement that I don't like to do 2024? Or is it just because this game's been going on for so long that that's what I want to do? I want to continue that way. I don't want to have people to change all the different rules and terminologies. I don't want to have to figure out how to adjust my encounters to take into consideration that the first 5 levels of pretty much every class has gotten significantly more efficient than it was in 2014. That's the kind of stuff that fuels the edition wars, because you might have an actual, like, you might have a legitimate thought of, do I want to do this? Is it too much work? Is it going to make cause too many waves in the pond? Are there going to be repercussions that I'm not expecting, that I can't figure out? How much of the stuff have I already house ruled in? These are all things that are going to affect your games. And it's that sort of question and kind of unknown quotient that can turn someone into the I'm not sure to, I don't want a new edition. I'm going to use the old stuff. And I really do believe that change is good. I do believe that it has a place and a way to deliver things. I think that the way that WotC's delivering this is not ideal. Delivering it as not a new edition, but just a bunch of updated rules, which basically makes it a new edition. Not renaming it, just calling it the 2024 Player's Guide, or Player's Handbook. The entire handling of the D&D Beyond thing, I won't even get into that. We could probably have an entire episode about the mishandling of how that information was doled out. Plus, and I'm looking at some of you folks out there, plus the absolute entitlement of some of the people who have subscribed to that service. The feeling that they should get, quote, access to things all the time, offline. That's not what you subscribed for. But I digress. There was definitely a better way to handle this. And I think one of the ways that they should have done it was just rip the Band-Aid off and call it 6th edition. Or, because you're releasing it this year, call it the 50th anniversary edition of D&D. Don't put a number on it. Do the which was it? I don't remember which game it is, but they didn't call it a 1st, 2nd, 3rd edition. They basically called it, it was a particular, like, they called it like the gold edition or something like that. And it was like, what makes it gold? Whatever they could have done, they should have just pulled the Band-Aid off and said, this is a new edition. Cut, dry. If you want to keep playing 5e, you absolutely can. No one is stopping you. But this edition, the 6th edition, all of our future products are going that way. I think by trying to cater to all of the gamers that are like, but I like this. If you've been a gamer for more than 15 years, you've been through an edition change. You know what it's like. You know the growing pains. You know what it's like to have to rebuy some books if you're going to do that. And if you're going to support the company that makes the games that you make. And I think that this sort of soft, wishy-washy, it's not really a new edition, it's just an update, but you don't have to do this. And on D&D Beyond, you can choose to use the old stuff if you want to. I think that it is a huge mistake, and they should have just said, as a company, we're making these changes. This is where the game is going. Please enjoy our product. And then shut up. And then move on. And then move on to start making products. Because the thing is that gamers will always, in any sort of change, even if it's a change that they want, they will still find a way to get grumpy about it for some reason. And if you know that you cannot please everybody, and we all know that you can't, then you do what is best for the product, and you do what is best for the company in order to continue making good products for your fan base. And I think that the 2024 edition could be a really good product for your fan base. But you have to make sure that you don't softball it in and go, well, you don't have to use it if you don't want to. We all know that. As gamers, we don't have to use anything because we're playing in our houses, we're playing in our game stores. We don't have to use what you've given us. But you, as a company, have to take a stance. You've got to tell your writers, this is the direction that we go. You've got your editors and your developers that need to focus on a particular way to build the products that you're trying to create. And by making it all mushy and, well, if you don't like it, you don't have... Come on, just pull the Band-Aid off and make it 6th edition. That's all I'm saying. And then there wouldn't... The edition war, which is going to happen anyway, there's going to be edition arguments for the next year or so, then it's cut and dry, and it's just like every other edition war that we've had. The gamers have to make that decision. Do I stay with what I've got at the risk of not having new product coming out for me? Or do I adapt to what's coming, knowing that for the next 10, 15 years, I will have a healthy field full of gaming crop to pick from, and what you are comfortable with. For instance, I'll do my own personal edition wars. I have a massive 40k Necron army. It's huge. Up until very, very recently, I have literally at least one of every single model that the Necrons have ever produced. And I mean that literally. Like that's not me trying to be hyperbolic. I mean, I literally have got collector's models. I've gotten literally everything that they've ever put out, at least one of, because I love my Necrons. When 10th edition came around, I took a look at the rules. I did not care for how Games Workshop was delivering that information. I saw writing on the wall about some of the things some of the claims they were making about how the 10th edition release was going to be, that I'm like, yeah, there's no way. And I was right. And I see a lot of my friends enjoying 10th edition. They're having a good time. I just don't. I've tried to look at it. I have not sat down to play a game, but I have watched several. I have read through the rulebook a couple of times now at this point. And I know that this edition is not for me. In the case of an edition wars of 40k, I was very happy with 7th and 8th. I did not think 9th was great, and I think 10th is a massive misstep. I think 10th is a massive step backwards, in my opinion. We're not gonna roll down that thing. But I know there's only so much time that I have to dedicate to painting and playing and getting my minis hobby time in. So I just basically count myself as a casualty of the current edition. I lost the 40k edition wars because I can't really enjoy 10th edition right now. And a lot of my friends are really enjoying it and having a good time with it. And I don't want to take away from their enjoyment. And I don't want to engage in an event that I feel will be frustrating or that might cause me to be kind of a wet blanket at an event. So I don't. And I just use that time to play and paint, other games that I'm really, really enjoying right now. And I think that's the end result of any edition war, is you've got you've got a couple of options. We are very fortunate as gamers in this generation, this current generation of gaming, not gamers, that we have options across the board. If I don't like a particular system, there are probably 5 other game systems that are a Google search away that I might like more that have a similar genre. I myself am extremely fortunate in that I get to design things the way I feel that I would want them to be played, that I would want the audience to enjoy in this way. So I can always, not to be egotistical, I can always play my own games because I know that I'm going to like those. And the opposite is true. If there's an edition that I don't care for, I just won't use it, and I'll use that time and that energy and that effort to find a little bit of life positivity and fun and joy in something else, maybe related, to take up that time in my life, because it's important to me. And I think that the edition change from 2014 to 2024, 6th edition. I think the change to the 2024 Player's Handbook is going to come with a lot of ups and downs. It's going to come with a lot of trials and tribulations, and a lot of people that there may very well even be some judginess. You're still using 2014. You're not progressive enough. Or, you've moved over to the 2024 rulebook. You like family-friendly elves or from family-friendly orcs and spells that create tacos and sushi. It's a thing. And again, at the end of the day, just be nice. Enjoy the games you enjoy. Let other people enjoy the games that they enjoy. And if you're not at the same table, if you're not trying to cross-pollinate your guys' enjoyment factors, then what's the harm, man? Just let people enjoy stuff. Yes, we can debate all day long. We can talk about things. We can say, I don't like that. But I think the difference between saying, I don't like that, and you shouldn't like that, or you're wrong for liking that, is where the discourse changes and where the discourse becomes problematic. That's where the real edition wars come from, is telling others how, in their own private lives, how they can have fun. And we shouldn't do that. And that's the message for today. We should try and facilitate other people having fun, and we should celebrate our own and other people having fun, rather than trying to tell people that they're having fun incorrectly. And with that, my rant about the edition wars is over. And for now, obviously. Next week, we have a very special episode that we will be... I'm actually going to go live next week, because we are going to go live for our 250th episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. Now, that doesn't include things like the live plays of the Spelljammer game that I did for a little while, or any of the little special events, or any of the, I'm sick messages. But so be ready. Come armed with your questions about anything. We're gonna blow the topic. We're gonna blow the doors open, and from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, maybe a little bit over, I'm going to be going live for the 250th episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. So look forward to that. Get your questions ready. Get me talking about stuff, so that way we're not sitting there just staring at each other lovingly in our eyes, our electronic eyeballs, staring into the black mirror. You know what I mean. Until then, though, wash your hands. Get your shots. Wear a mask if you have to. Brush your teeth. I don't know why I said that. Just, try and be safe, and, just try and make every room a little happier than when you got there. And I think the world will be a better place. But until then, have fun and play some games. We will see you live next week.